Hey TCS TV viewers, it's Dave and Evelyn from the camera store, and today we're talking about the new Hasselblad X2D 100C.
Or as I like to call it, the X2 Dave.
But we're excited about this because it is a whole new camera for Hasselblad. This is a new sensor, some new technology, so it's elevating the entire lineup, and they also announced 3 new lenses as well.
There's a lot to talk about, so let's get into it.
So first off, this is a first look at this new camera system. We've had a very short amount of time with it, but we're thrilled that we got it in our hands because, come on, this is a sexy camera. The X1D, which I have in my hand, is also very nice, but they've made a few refinements to the body of the camera that we quite like.
Yeah, I mean, for one, right off the bat, they got rid of the push-up dial on the side here. So now we just have a flush, really nice looking LCD screen here. But the big factor is the resolution. We're jumping up to 100 megapixels with this, and it is image stabilized.
So this has 7 stops of in-body image stabilization, and it's also paired with a new autofocus system. So this has both phase detection autofocus as well as contrast detect autofocus. And so that's going to be a big improvement for this camera because all of a sudden you're going to be able to shoot a lot more things that are in motion. I mean, a lot of times people think of the Hasselblad camera as being like a sit-still portrait camera or for landscapes, but now it's going to be able to be in the hands of people that do things a little bit more casually, a little bit more handheld.
Yeah, Hasselblad is saying that you can even go as low as 1 second handheld. So I'm interested to try that out with a full production model.
Another exciting feature that is kind of interesting, a little bit different that we've seen in a lot of cameras lately, is internal memory. So this has 1 terabyte of internal memory, and this is just for still photos because this camera doesn't have any video features whatsoever. And I think that is a perfect decision because a 100 megapixel camera, I mean, working with video, they're gonna have to compress things and do pixel binning and throw away a lot of information to make that work. And so in this case, I think it was a very good decision for Hasselblad to just make this a still specific camera.
Yeah, the files are big on this camera. They're 100 megapixels, of course. And they found that SD cards and even CF Express cards weren't really fast enough to really optimize the performance of this processor. So an internal SSD drive certainly gives it that performance.
We should also mention that it does take a CF Express memory card, and so not only do you have the 1 terabyte of internal memory, but you can make your primary media a memory card as well. Should also mention that the only input on this camera is USB-C, so that's used for charging as well as very fast data transfer. But you'll also notice that there isn't a input for a remote trigger. So the one that you would have, the 3.5 millimeter jack, where it was the big orange, glowy, gorgeous button, that's not going to be compatible. But we do have the Focus app from Hasselblad that allows you to trigger it from your phone. Now, some photographers are mixed on whether or not they like that, using your phone as the device, but it is a very good app, it's reliable, and I do have that as an option.
Now, something that I am quite happy about with this new camera design is an articulating screen. However, it's not a fully articulating screen like we've seen in a bunch of other cameras. It goes up to a 40 degrees and then 70 degrees at the end here. And what's nice is that the buttons you use for working through the camera and the menu system are all part of that screen. So no matter what angle you're looking at, the buttons are part of that screen.
Yeah, we also like the electronic viewfinder on this camera. It has a 1x magnification, so it feels really big and bright, and the resolution is 5.76 million dots, and we have a 60 hertz refresh rate, so it's a nice experience when you're looking through that viewfinder. Although we had a very short period of time with this camera, we wanted to be able to share the love, share the beauty of this new Hasselblad camera, so we put it in the hands of a couple other people at the camera store, and we wanted to get their first impressions of it as well. Okay, so I'm here with Todd Coral, who's an editorial and commercial photographer, also has a great YouTube channel, so check it out, look for Todd Coral on YouTube. But today we're gonna talk a little bit about his experience with Hasselblad cameras. So you recently bought yourself a beautiful system, the X1D2. Can you tell us a little bit about what made you do that?
Well, I've wanted a medium format digital camera for the longest time. I mean, 25 years ago, I bought my first brand new 501 CM and had this film camera. I still have it, still use it all the time, still take pictures and make prints in the darkroom with it. And I've always wanted a medium format camera. I've tested it out, tried it out a little bit, and the quality you get is just another big step above 35 millimeter. There's a big debate, and I use 50 megapixel 35 millimeter cameras, so I know the difference, and there really is a difference between the two.
Let's take a look at some of the prints that you brought today. So these are with the 50 megapixel camera.
These are all with the X1D2 50 megapixel camera. I have 4 lenses. I have a 30, a 45, 65, and a 90.
Now, when you talk about the difference in the print quality and what you're seeing in the files themselves, what are you seeing? What are you looking at?
Well, first off, you notice the tonal range. The tonal range is just exceptional on these cameras. If you look at just deep, rich blacks, but the gradation to the white is you have detail everywhere. A lot of times in 35mm or the smaller sensors, you kind of lose that and it gets a little bit noisy, and you can kind of see it, especially when you go bigger prints. If it's smaller prints, you're not going to be able to tell. But if you start printing big, and these are 16 by 20 prints, but if you start printing 30 by 40, 40 by 50, that's when you really start to notice the tonal range and the changes in terms of the tonal range of the prints. And for me, this is the perfect system, the perfect camera to have.
Yeah, now of course, with this being a fairly recent purchase for you, how are you feeling about some of the details that have been released about the X2D 100C?
You know, first off, it is, you know, I mean, it looks amazing. It feels amazing. That's one of the things that really brought me to this X1D2 is the feel in the hand. I mean, it's second to none. There just isn't a better camera out there that feels this good in the hand. I mean, they've nailed the industrial design of this camera perfectly.
That Scandinavian design,
oh yeah,
the feel,
I love
sexy.
it. And you know, it's part of. It really is part of wanting to use a camera. You have to really love a camera to say, I want to go out and take pictures with this camera.
Yeah, it's got to be fun. It's got to be enjoyable.
Because you love using it. The new lenses look stunning. They're light, but they're metal. They don't feel cheap. They don't feel plasticky. They feel very, very solid. I love the cam that you can do manual focus in this. Looking at how these lenses work, the focus is very fast, it's very accurate. One of the things I said about the old camera and the old lenses is it's faster than people think. I think part of the reason people get hung up on the old lenses is it makes this noise, and your brain
they've tightened that up a lot.
Yeah, your brain thinks that it's going slow where it's actually not that slow. It's very accurate, it focuses. Yeah, you're not going to shoot sports. That's not what these cameras are for. These cameras aren't for fast-moving action or shoot the Olympics with. These cameras are for going out and making big landscapes, doing personal projects, great portraits. That's what these cameras are really made for. These guys that say, oh, well, you can't shoot sports or this with that, they're just not made for that. That's not the intent of these cameras. It harkens back to photography. This is going out, putting the camera on a tripod or walking around and finding pictures, really composing. It just sums up photography for me anyway. That's what I really love about the system, and that's why I got the system. And also that medium format quality is just a step above. I mean, you make these luscious prints, and I brought in and I was showing the guys the prints here, and nobody was going, oh, you know, what lens and how is this shot? They were just looking at the image because it's so captivating in the tones and the gradation, and that's what photography is all about. That's what you want.
I'm with Julian Ferreira now, who is one of the co-owners of the camera store, but also someone who's had a lot of experience with Hasselblad over the years. And your style of photography is shooting a lot of black and white square photographs of the prairies. So what is it for you that makes a Hasselblad camera special?
Well, Hasselblad is definitely the classic square format when you think of that, and you know, the flexibility of the system, changeable lenses when you compare it to like Rolly and some of the other square format cameras out there, was obviously a great attraction to it. And you know, the legacy seems to continue over with this style.
Yeah. So what are you most excited about with seeing some of the updates that they've done with this X2D 100C?
Honestly, the thing that excites me the most are the lenses. You know, they're small, they're compact. I actually like the way it engages to a manual focus. I find that really tactile, and I do prefer manual focus for a lot of the stuff I do, where I'm you know, deciding how much of my foreground do I want into the background, and you know, doing the autofocus at one point and then moving up. It just seems a pain. I like to compose it and then slide it and correct it, and force a habit, I'm sure, but that is, those lenses excite the heck out of me.
Yeah, the tactile feel of them is so amazing.
The whole system excites me too, in that, unlike Todd, I don't use a tripod. I rarely use a tripod. Using the Blad, I'm as likely to shoot it off the back of my horse as I am on the ground, as walking around. It's not something the only time I ever use a tripod, honestly, is if I'm doing a slow exposure, maybe on water, which isn't that often. Most of the time, I like it handheld. So size, an ability to carry something small and have it in a saddlebag or have it close to me is everything. So again, these lenses and the body.
Is there anything you don't like about what they've changed about it?
Well, I have to admit, when I first picked up the body, I'm like, oh, it's thicker. Because you could feel it thicker. And
To fit that 1 terabyte of storage.
Yes, and the image stabilizing. And,
had to be a little bigger.
And the articulated screen. At first I'm like, well, I don't need an articulated screen. But then holding it as we were sitting chatting, I suddenly find myself cradling it and looking down, you know, the way your body and your front, it's like having my old Hasselblad again, which I never used the viewfinder. I always did use a waist level finder. And I found myself going, wow, it's pretty reminiscent of a past again. So yeah, I'll live with the thicker camera to get the extra features.
My last guest of people that I'm pulling in to talk about this new Hasselblad X2D 100C is Ron Bublnich, who you might remember from some of our previous Leica episodes. Used to be behind the scenes on our TCS TV live show as well.
Hey guys.
Hey guys. He's also just an uber camera nerd.
Yeah, so I'm back.
Before we get into that, when this was first announced, I remember that you were pretty excited about some of the possibilities with this camera. What were the things that stood out to you?
Mainly, it was the experience, of course, coming from where I'm at shooting the analog lenses that I shoot. I was aiming for a tactile experience and hoping it was going to be present here on their new series of lenses. Though the overall experience and the engagement with the camera so far, in the very brief moments that I had to handle it, I really enjoy.
Now, what about in-body image stabilization for you? What does that mean for the experience for being a street photographer?
Oh, amazing, because I'm heavily caffeinated or I'm full of sugar. So ambiently humming is a thing that I do all the time. So having not used it in the street, so I'm still not like giving it a thumbs up yet.
But
having
in theory,
not used it, in theory, if this is good, like I'll be really happy. I had a chance to play with the ISO just a little. What I like about 3200 is really nice. It's not low light, but still very, very good. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I hope I get to speak on this next interview when we fully have like it ready to go.
Yes.
So I'm really, really excited. But yeah.
Okay. Not considering this new release, but what is it about a Hasselblad camera that you like, that attracts you to it compared to other cameras?
Like, look at these lines. Look at.
You like that Scandinavian design? Yeah.
I mean.
Can you do that again?
My Scanda Sweden design?
Not only did Hasselblad bring us a brand new camera, but they also gave us 2 of the 3 lenses that they have just introduced. We have a 38mm, a 55mm, and a very exciting 90mm coming out.
They're a totally new design of lens. I mean, aesthetically, they're gorgeous. We love the look of it. We love all the little design changes that they've made. We like how that they've redesigned how the lenses feel in terms of how lightweight they are. We have the aperture ring as well as a controllable ring on it that you can program.
I'm loving the manual focus clutch. You can grab the lens at any time, switch it into manual focus, and it's really nice and smooth.
Yeah, even the lens caps are nice. So overall, our impressions of the new X2D 100C and this lens setup is that Hasselblad has gone in a really sexy direction. I mean, I think a lot of people are excited about it, and it's nice to see that they've elevated the lineup with some new tech as well as just some styling improvements.
Yeah, I mean, it's this really amazing sort of industrial design, and because there's no video features to it, they've made the camera super simple. If you're in this sort of level of cameras, you're not looking for a million bells and whistles and all kinds of things. You want simplicity but high quality, and I think that's where Hasselblad is really nailing it with this package.
Of course, we want to know, what do you think? Are you drooling over this new Hasselblad system? We want to know. Let us know in the comments below.
Let you know if this is the sexiest camera on the market today. Make sure you follow us both on Instagram.
And if you're new to our channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so we can catch you again very soon.
Should I give it the door test?
No, no.